What's going on, you guys? Fluraza here, and today I have a special video today. It's gonna be rate that substance, but like for every single drug that I've ever done. I might be missing a few because I've done quite a bit, but let's start at the top of the list here and just get right into it. So at the top of the list we have zines, which is like Etazine, Etazine. There's like a ton of different ones. It's like the new fentanyl. I've done them before. I'm pretty sure I've done them before. We're gonna put these in hell tier because they don't really feel that good overall. They make you really nauseous. Just withdrawals are absolutely unbearable. Like they're just not really that fun in general. So I don't really see a point in putting them any more than hell. So, oh, and I forgot to explain the tiers. So we have S tier, which is like this drug is amazing. Like, oh my God. And we have like A, B, C, D, F, like regular tiers, I guess. And then we have hell, which hell is like exceptionally bad. Like, do not touch the substance at all. Never go near it. Like, it's fucking horrible. There's no good sides to it. But next on the list, we have Xanax. So, Xanax is good for getting rid of anxiety. A little bit too good in my opinion, because like the way that like your brain works, you need a little bit of anxiety, otherwise you won't be afraid of like, oh, if I just like don't fix my car, whatever, I'm just gonna keep driving it, and then like 3 days later your car fucking blows up because you didn't give a shit and you didn't get it fixed, you know. So it has its uses, but it's not really one that I'd sit there and I'd be like, "Oh my God, I'm going to go do this for fun." Like this is not really recreational much to me. So I'll put it in C only because it really does help with anxiety, but like just not really it's not really something that I'd be doing for fun, you know what I mean? But next on the list we have weed, and weed, most people love it unless you get paranoia, anxiety, all that stuff. How do I get rid of this little box? Deselect. That was not the right idea. Deselect. Okay. But there's like some withdrawals there can be if you're like a very long time smoker, and like I know genetics play like a part into it. There's like a lot that goes into that. But weed overall is, I'd say, like somewhere between a 7 and a 10 out of 10 for like the majority of people. So I'd say that this one is like S tier, because like you're not gonna get like a huge hangover where you can't fucking function the next day. You know what I mean? So like if you go out and you smoke a joint with some friends, like you can have some good fun with that. The session itself can be fun. Like that's not even what comes after the sesh. The little fast food runs. You know what I mean? Like weed is just overall. There's not really much to complain about. So and it's really good for anxiety. So better than Xanax in my opinion, but I know that's debatable. So next on our list we have Vivance. Now, I'm doing this one separate from like Adderall and all that stuff. Um, because Vivance kind of always felt a little bit different to me. I don't know why. Like I know it converts into like the same stuff as Adderall and stuff in your brain, but like it just always felt different. Now, the only thing with Vivance for me is like I get really angry. Um, I'd say like it lasts maybe 8 hours for me, maybe like 4 hours of like initial wow, I'm on Vivance, and then it's like 4 hours of like okay, almost not on Vivance anymore, and then after 8 hours for me, it's just kind of I'm just angry for like 4 hours. So I'd put this one at like B tier because I mean like it has its fun, but like the come down, I don't know. I feel like there's better things to do, but it's not bad enough to where I want to rank it low. So I'm putting that at B tier. And then next we have what's taking America by storm. Vape. Yep. Disposable vapes, refillable vapes, any type of vape. I have a Nord 5, you know, I have coils for it. I put juice in it, all that stuff. Um, I'm addicted to nicotine, so like I don't like it necessarily, but like I'm also addicted to it, so it has to be doing something for me, or I wouldn't be fucking doing it at all. So like nicotine addiction overall is a waste of money. It makes you feel like shit. Like doesn't really do much for you. Maybe it gives you like a little bit of a focus boost, but like it's you know what I mean. Like just do fucking coke or something. I don't know. Like vape is just not really that good. So we're gonna put vape in. We'll put it in C tier because it does hit really hard when you're drunk or like on Molly. Pairs well with other drugs. So we'll put it in C tier. Next we have tramadol. Now this is one of my favorite opioids ever because although you have to have a low tolerance and you can't really go past like a certain amount or like seizures kind of you start to have a lot of seizures and it's not really like something you want to have going on. But tramadol is I don't know, it feels really warm, it feels really fuzzy. You know, I have uncontrollably thrown up on it before, but despite that, it's pretty nice. I've never like had the feeling to abuse it like other opioids. It's always kind of had its like, oh, I do it and then I'm like fine. Like I might have a craving to do it like a day after, but like after that, it's not, you know. I've never had like a problem with tramadol. So I'd put this in like B tier. Sorry, I had to clear my throat. But actually, you know what? Mid video water break cuz I wow. All right, some little ASMR for you. But no, tramadol, I know like some people there's like a certain liver enzyme that like some people can't metabolize it right or whatever. I'm very fortunate. I metabolize it very well. So we're putting that one in B tier. I'm only not putting it in A because it's still an opioid and the withdrawals can be pretty bad if you do it like every single day or like, every day for a week or whatever, go on a little binge. Like it does have its downsides and the seizure part of it, like you probably won't be able to do it for a week straight because the tolerance builds a little bit too quick. Um, but if you're just doing it like for a night or two going out, like it's pretty nice. It's pretty nice. Next on the list we have spice. K2, whatever you want to call it. It's all the like not the like delta 8 HHC cannabinoids, but it's like those like China lab like synthetic like oh like I'm buying some HJWR2D2 like those types of noids that are like like just they're just weird as fuck like people were dying off them, you know what I mean? They were sold in like gas stations in like 2010. Um I've had these maybe before, I'm fairly certain because back when carts were kind of starting to become popular, um I had a few that were like they weren't like psychedelic, but they were more how people describe spice, where it's like you do too much and it's just scary, but it's psychedelic, but it's like it's not psychedelic, but it's like we it's I don't know how to describe it honestly off the top of my head. I'm not gonna fucking lie, so I'm not even gonna keep trying. But anyways, it felt like how everybody who I've known has done spice before described it. So let me make this a little bit smaller. Skinny Queen. I'm gonna put this one in D tier because I've never had spice withdrawals, but I've heard that the withdrawals off of spice can get pretty pretty bad. Like rivaling like benzos and opioids, and those are pretty bad. And they can last for like over a week. I'm sorry, but like anything over a week, that's you just don't do it. In fact, actually, I don't even know why I put that in D tier. We're putting that in hell tier. Spice is in hell tier. Don't do spice, guys. Just don't. Um, Next we have shrooms. And shrooms are, nature's healer. It's like LSD minus the psychosis after. Um, you can microdose. They're pretty good. I've microdosed for like prolonged periods of time. And it really does actually help without making you go like absolutely fucking insane. As long as you're, you know, doing it properly and stuff. But um the only real bad side I can think of with these is like maybe bad trips, which, is the only reason I'm not going to put it in S tier, so that's going to go in A tier. Um yeah, shrooms A tier. Love them. Lots of people I know love them. The only people who I know hate them are people who like routinely experience like a bad trip, and even then, like microdosing, they'll still usually be cool with. So there's something for most people with shrooms. So A tier for me. And the next on the list is oxycodone. This is by far my all-time favorite opioid, better than tramadol, better than hydrocodone, better than any. Jesus fuck, I'm getting tongue twisted just talking about it. That's how much I like it, guys. Like, I could go on for days about oxycodone. Um, Unfortunately, it's not easy to find in America anymore. And if it is, you're paying out the ass for it. Like, it's not cheap at all. So, this with opioids in general just isn't really something I fuck with anymore. But if money wasn't an issue and I knew that it was clean and everything, I would definitely have a little stock of this. Um, Now, opioid withdrawals, they do hit me a little bit less hard than most people. So, oxycodone withdrawals, they're really not that bad for me. So, for me, I'm going to put it in A tier. Oxycodone, love it. Cannot get enough of it, honestly. But I don't really think there's much else to say about it. So, we're going to move on to Nangs, N2O, nitrous, whippets, tons of different names for it. It's like the shit that you do when you're like in middle school and you're like, ooh, I want to try drugs, but you don't have a plug because you're in fucking middle school. They're not really good on their own, but like with something else, like I know with Molly acid, most psychedelics in general, it can actually be a pretty fun experience. So for that, I'll put them in B tier. And also another thing with them is they're not really going to cause you like insane long-term brain damage unless you're doing like, unless you're doing them like all day every day, or you do like 400 in a day or some shit like that. Like if you do them in a little amounts, and you space out the use and everything, use safely, all that, they're really not going to do that much damage. The most they'll do is deplete your B12 or like some sort of vitamin like that. And all you really have to do is just stop fucking doing them and maybe take a B12 supplement, but you'll probably be fine. Like they're really not the type of drug that's gonna, make society crumble and fucking quiver. But next on our list is one that maybe might, and that would be meth. I've done this only a handful of times. It's not really something that I enjoy doing. It's not really something that I actively seek out. Um, it's basically like what I call it. I call it dirty Adderall. It doesn't feel dirty. It actually feels a lot cleaner than Adderall, but it lasts so long. And every time that I've ever done it, um, like my face starts falling apart. Like, and I already have acne, so we're already trying to salvage what we fucking can here. So, you know, that's huge reason not to do it for me. I don't really get bad come downs off of it, to be honest, because I still sleep, I still eat, I still drink water. But like my tongue starts blistering up, I get canker sores, like it literally, my body just starts to deteriorate in every way, shape, and form every single time that I've done this, no matter how well I take care of myself. And while it's very amazing at making you focus, making you do things, and it's absolutely flawless at that, and it's very cheap as well, which is why a lot of people like it. It's just not. It's just I see why people call it a dirty drug. Like it's just not something you want to be doing. I would honestly put this at F tier just because of all the side effects from it. And most people, there's maybe a handful of people on earth who are going to buy like an actual decent amount of this stuff and not go through all of it in a couple of days. So using it like medically or whatever, there's a reason why they used to prescribe it, and now it's like a last resort medication. I'm just fucking burping a lot. That's horrible. But it's just it's really not something you want to be doing, honestly. It's not hell because there's not really horrible withdrawals. You might like feel like shit for a little bit and, sleep a little bit more, but you're not going to be like writhing in pain or like throwing up on shitting all over yourself. Like it's not like it's super intense like that. That's the only reason I'm putting it not in hell, but don't do meth, guys. So, now next we have ketamine. This one of my all-time favorite drugs. It honestly, the first time you do it, it's kind of scary for most people because it's the body feeling is kind of a lot. The head feeling is just kind of a lot. It's just kind of a lot to handle in general. And the like when you K-hole, it can be very Jesus Christ, I'm tongue twisted. It can be very scary the first time, but after that it's not really as scary anymore because you know what to expect. There's not really like a hangover unless you're doing it like all day every day for like a week straight or something. If anything, there's like an afterglow. Um, it can be pretty expensive in the U.S., but if you know the right people, you can get that shit for some pretty low tickets. But we're gonna put it in S tier because it's kind of like weed, where like you can do it and then even just like 2 or 3 hours later, you can probably go back and go function about your day. It's not really one of those things where like you're dying for the rest of the day or something. So ketamine S tier. Now next on this list we have FXC slash CanCat, and I'm putting both of these together because they're slightly different chemicals. It's like one molecule is on like a different part of the other molecule. I don't know, but FXC and CanCat are two dissociatives. They originally everything was sold as FXC, and then a lot of FXC started to hit the labs like recently, and they started to test it, and they started to compare it, and they found out it's actually CanCat. Now, I've had CanCat and I've had FXC before, and FXC is a lot more of a body high. It's a lot more intoxicating. Not like you could still function on it, but there's definitely a difference. I like the FXC body high a lot. I like the FXC head high a lot. There's even like a little bit of an FXC afterglow. It's honestly better than Cat in my opinion. CanCat is very similar, but it's a lot less like impairing. Like you can still get pretty impaired on it, but you're not gonna hole on CanCat. FXC on the other hand, you're definitely gonna hole on, like for sure. So I am probably gonna put it in A tier. Actually no, S tier. I'm gonna put out a warning though. Do not mix these with stimulants because if you mix them with stimulants, you put your risk for like having a seizure like really high. So just a little PSA warning. Do not mix this one with stimulants because I know it's like a research chemical, but it's kind of becoming a little bit more mainstream. So I want to make sure people who are watching this video know that just in case they try to experiment, which I don't recommend trying any of these drugs. I don't recommend doing drugs, none of that stuff. But, this is just an educational video. If I'm going to, or if I have advice that I think is important, then I'm going to put it out there. So, next we have, like ecstasy slash Molly, you know what I mean? Um, I've had a lot of fake Molly. I've had a little bit of real Molly, because it's the U.S. Real Molly is amazing. Real Molly is honestly one of the best drugs I've ever tried. Didn't have didn't really have like too bad of a come down. I got like sad when I was coming down, because I when I did it, I was coming down when I was at work, so I still finished the shift just fine. It really just wasn't that come down really wasn't that bad. And I wasn't going hard like, oh, I'm doing half a gram. Like, no, it was just like, it was less than 200 milligrams. I know that, but it was still a pretty good roll. Um, but overall, I'm gonna put this one in A tier because I know some people have a problem with it, and I totally understand why you would. But for me, um, knowing like the type of brain damage that you get from like doing Molly all the time without like, waiting at least a little bit before you do it again, it just that kind of scares me too much to want to do it like that. So I'm gonna put it in A tier because I can enjoy it and put it down and have fun with it. Um, DXM is honestly, it's not like an amazing drug. It's a drug that for me I don't feel at all. It literally just doesn't work for me. I have a friend who's the same way. I had another friend who loved it and would do it all the time, and he would have these crazy trips and everything, and it sounds really fun, but I don't know. For me, I'm gonna put it in D tier because like it's good for like colds and stuff, but it's just not really fun for me, and there's like so many other things that I can do that just doesn't really seem worth it to me. DMT is next on our list, and oh, I got confused for a second there. DMT is one of my favorite drugs of all time. No hangover, 30 minutes later, you're completely back to normal, completely back to reality. I have had some pretty crazy DMT trips. Um, it's it's something where, whenever somebody that I know is getting it, I'm gonna pick some up. I'm always gonna try to get it when I have a chance. Like I've never met anybody who really hates DMT. Like everybody likes DMT. So I'm gonna put it in S tier because, it kind of has like antidepressant properties. It's taken me from a low place and given me motivation, given me drive, given me focus. So I don't have any complaints about it. So I'm gonna put it in S tier. Now next we have clonazepam, K-pens, Klonopin. These are pretty nice. Honestly, for me, they work better than like a Xanax at killing my anxiety because they work a lot longer and they feel less like, oh, I just want to do drugs right now. Because like when I do Xanax, all I want to do is other drugs. Um, there's not really like it feels like happy Xans for me. Um, like give me like half a milligram, I'm set. And I'll put them in A tier only because like I don't really abuse like benzodiazepines like that. So I don't really deal with the withdrawals of those and everything. And even when I have before, not to discount anybody else's experience, this is just how I personally experience them. Um, they didn't like if I was on like a high dose or something and I cold turkeyed, it would be a different story. But I never really had benzodiazepine withdrawals bad enough where it was like, oh my god, like these are horrible. But I'm also not sitting there really abusing them to the point where I'd get bad withdrawals. But now moving on to something with pretty fucking bad withdrawals, alcohol. Alcohol, um, it's honestly, I mean, it works, but the hangovers from alcohol, I get them every single time. Um, Sometimes they last like 3 hours for me, sometimes they last like a whole day. I used to not get hangovers, but that's what, starting drinking when you're like 14 does to you. You're gonna get hangovers pretty quickly. So, like it does its job, but I'd rather be doing something else. I'm gonna put it in C tier. I'm not really gonna go into it much. Next on this list is acid. Now, I'm not saying that acid itself is bad, but I feel like it does bad things to a lot of people, and I feel like it's not as safe as most psychedelics like DMT or shrooms. because although bad things can still happen on those other psychedelics, a lot of people, like a majority of the people who I know who have done acid, um, they were like, yeah, it was fun, yeah, it was cool, but overall, I probably would go back and never have done it because they say, like, and I've experienced this too, like, you'll have like extended periods where you're just, things just aren't right. So it's fun, but like, I'd probably do it like once a year type thing. Like, I wouldn't be doing that all the time. Probably wouldn't be microdosing acid often either. So I'm gonna put it in B tier because it's fun, but you need to. It's fun in extreme moderation. 25B Enbo. This one, it's like visuals, not really a lot of headspace, but visuals that can get overwhelming if you're not like prepared for it. Um, it's it's not N bomb, so there's N bow and there's N bomb. They're two different, similar but different classes of chemicals. N bows are usually a lot safer. So you know you can do like 50 milligrams of an N bow, and it's like depending on the N bow, and like 5 milligrams of like what that would be in an N bomb or whatever. The N bomb would kill you, but the N bow, you probably wouldn't die. They're really fun. There's like 25E, 25I, 25B. There's basically, it's like almost the whole fucking alphabet of like ones to choose from. They all do their own things. They're all a little bit different. So I'm gonna put it in A tier. It's not really like a come down, or like there's a come down, but it's not like sad and everything. It's kind of nice like acid, but minus as much of the psychosis and the freaking out and all that. So next on our list is 4-FMA. Now this one, it feels like Molly 2. I remember I was watching a Goblin video and he said, "We're going to see Molly 2 in our lifetimes." This is fucking it, guys. This is fucking Molly 2. Molly 2.0. Now with Molly 2.0, it feels better. Feels way better than Molly. So fucking good. Like, if I had the chance to do this one more time, I might. But only if I had 3 to 4 days after to recuperate, because while Molly itself has never given me like a horrible, unbearable come down, this had me bedridden for 3 days. I'm so serious. This was insane. The come down off of this chemical was honestly almost it rivals what I went through in fentanyl withdrawal. Like, this is one of the worst chemical come downs that I've ever, ever fucking had. So, although I don't want to put it in D tier, but I feel like C tier is a little bit too much. We're gonna put this one in C.5. That's what I'm gonna call it. Now next on the list we have 3-MMC. Um, smells like cat piss. Makes you smell like cat piss. But it's like Molly, but like it's like a Molly pill, but like if it was half cut with like just straight Adderall. It's not bad, but there's definitely better. You can snort it, you can eat it. Come down. There is a come down, but it's not unbearable. I'm gonna put it at B.5, kind of in between the B and the C because it's not C tier, but it's not quite good enough to be a B tier. Now 3 CPM. Oh, is this one a bitch? It feels not like it kind of feels like Adderall, but like if you were like really focused in, like it's what I wanted Adderall to feel like, basically. I snorted it the first time and I almost threw up. I almost shit myself, and then I went to the shower because I was overheating, and I almost threw up in the shower. I was crying in the shower. I screamed in the shower. It literally feels like somebody poured straight chlorine liquid in your nose, and then they took a barbed wire, like a gorilla brush, and they started gorilla brushing the entirety of your nasal cavity. It's so incredibly fucking painful to snort, but when you eat it, it's completely fine. So there's not really that much of a come down off of it. I didn't really notice a come down on it. So I'm gonna put it in A tier because, you know, like it is an experimental drug. I'm not recommended to go do it, obviously, but it's better than a lot of other drugs I've had. It's not like a very pushy like, oh, I need to go do things. I need to go do things. But it's like, oh yeah, like I want to do things. I kind of want to talk to people. Like I would definitely do this over Molly, um, or maybe even do this with Molly. To be honest, like if I was offered this, um, and my plug like ran out of Molly or something, I would definitely buy it. It's no bad review for me. I'm only not putting it at S tier because I don't know, I don't know the safety of it because it's not as popular as like, FXC and stuff. So not as many people have had extensive research on it. And next on the list we have 3CP. This one, um, the first experience I had with it was amazing, literally amazing. Um, every other experience I had, I don't know if it drains your serotonin or something, but every other experience I had in that same week after that first one, it was horrible. I ended up, um, the last time that I ended up doing it, I did like a pretty fat dose because I was trying to see if I just had a tolerance, and I ended up getting so scared that I just chucked it in the trash. Like I chucked it in the trash, threw a ton of trash on top of it, never looked at it again. And I've never bought it again because this one terrifies me. It's really fun, but I don't think it's one you do a lot. So I'm gonna put it in C tier. Now, next on the list we have 2FDCK. This is a ketamine analog. It's one that's honestly very hard to hold on as well, kind of like CanCat. Um, I've done it with 3MMC before, and it pairs very, very nicely with a lot of like stimulants that are like kind of like those Molly type stimulants. Um, Pairs very well with honestly a lot of drugs. I don't have any complaints about it. It's very similar to ketamine. It's just a little bit harder to hold on it, a little bit more stimulating, a little bit less like body wonky, but still, you know, it still has like a head high to it. So I'm gonna put this one in S tier as well. And now 2CB. 2CB is by far one of my favorite psychedelics of all time because there's barely any tolerance build if you do it like consistently. It is very fun while still remaining trippy without being like overwhelming like acid can be or like some other psychedelics. It's just overall such a nice like fun, upbeat, colorful like I don't know. I don't everybody who I know who's done 2CB has never had any complaints about it. Um Even like a bad trip, the only downside is that it is a fucking bitch to snort. I actually told a story about, snorting 2CB, and that shit is horrible. It literally feels like the fucking San Andreas fault line is like shifting inside your nose. It's insane. I've felt parts of my nasal cavity that I didn't even know were there until I snorted 2CB. That's how painful it is. So, you know, I've actually gotten used to it, snorting it over the years. So, it's not that much of a problem for me anymore, but it's still really bad for your nose. Like, I would recommend eating it or something. But overall, like, there's not really a come down. You can do it, and there's like tolerance doesn't really build, and it still feels so fun and happy and stuff. I'm gonna put it in S tier, and we're just gonna we're just gonna review our rankings real quick. So for S tier, we have weed, ketamine, FXC slash CanCat, DMT, 2FDCK, and 2CB. In A tier, we have shrooms, oxycodone, Molly, K-pins, 25B Enbo, and 3 CPM. In B tier, we have Vivance, Tramadol, Nangs, and acid. In C tier, we have Xanax, vape, alcohol, and 3CP. And then I forgot about the point 0.5 tiers. We'll go over those quick. 3-MMC for B.5, and then 4-FMA for C.5. For D, we have DXM. For F, we have meth. And for hell tier, we have zines and spice. Well, that wraps up this video. So I hope you have a good day. Thanks for watching.